Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Board of Selectmen's meeting on May 17th, 2023. Mr. Pinion, do we have a need for non-public this evening?
We do 2 items under hiring, one under pending litigation and one under reputation.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is consideration of minutes, first set from April 26th. Anybody have any comments or questions on it?
I'll move we accept them as written.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Dave to accept them as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Now the minutes of May 3rd.
I have a couple of changes on page 11. And the first time that it says Mrs. Murray, second sentence, I want where it is, take it out, and it should say in the right place. Then it's Mr. Harriman, and then it's Mrs. Murray again. At the end of the first sentence, I would like, we need to go out there before the process goes too far. And that's it.
Okay.
Just adding those 2.
Any other questions, comments?
Motion to accept as amended?
Second.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Brian to accept them as amended. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have a couple of public hearings this evening. First one, the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the Wolfeboro Economic Development Committee to host a community celebration of Lake Winnipesaukee on August 11th, 2023, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the town docks. Permit number 2023-50.
Brad, I'd like to step aside for this because I'm on the EDC and I'm part of this, and that way I can answer any questions if you have them.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, you got to get up with the mic and be on that side.
Yeah. So Brian DeShays, citizen, EDC member, selectman, however you want to call it. Okay, so what we're looking to have is the inaugural Lake Winnipesaukee Day. So it's going to be sponsored by the Economic Development Committee. It's going to be at the town docks at Cape Park. We are going to be having 8 or 9 nonprofits come down so that they can educate citizens of the Lakes Region area on the necessity to keep our waters clean. We're going to be having anywhere from the Lake Winnipesaukee Association, the Wentworth Watershed, Wolfeboro Waters, New Hampshire Lakes, the Mount Washington Observatory, and potentially, the Lakes Region Conservation Trust. So they're all going to be coming down, and we're going to get all the businesses in town involved. Parks and Rec is going to have cornhole. We're going to have a couple of food trucks. The Mount Washington is coming in. It's going to be a floating venue, so you'll pay a ticket to go onto the Mount Washington and have dinner and dancing from 5 to 10 at night. The Spirit will be here as a second venue for people to have sandwiches and New Hampshire brewed beers. We are going to have proclamations from the senators and the representatives proclaiming that this is going to be a day for caring for our lake, and we're hoping to get a proclamation from the governor saying that this will be an ongoing annual event. Are there any questions?
I just have one right here, Brian. Did I just hear you say you're gonna have, beer there and stuff?
It's only on the Mount Washington.
Only on the Mount
vessels.
Washington, okay.
So it's their liquor license, and they're taking care of all of that for us.
So they won't be allowed to take it off the boat, then walk around with it
Correct.
and stuff, okay?
Correct.
This is a public hearing, so I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, any questions, comments?
Would you like a motion?
Certainly.
I make a motion to approve a temporary event permit for the Wolfeboro Economic Development Committee to hold a community celebration of Lake Winnipesaukee on August 11th, 2023, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the docks, and to close the dockside parking lot Friday, August 10th, at 11 p.m. until 11 p.m. on August 11th.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Dave. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, with Brian recusing himself from this one. Okay, next public hearing. Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the Wolfeboro Senior Center and Meals Incorporated to host music in the park on May 22nd, 2023 at 2 p.m., June 24th, 2023 at 4 p.m., July 24th, 2023 at 2 p.m., and August 23rd, 2023 at 2 p.m. Free and open to the public. Rain plan is in the Great Hall, permit number 2023-51. Do we have anybody here to,
Amy is on virtually.
okay?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Amy Capone-Muccio, the president of the nonprofit Wolfeboro Senior Center and Meals. We did this last year in the park. It was quite popular, so we're going to run it again. The reason there's one on a Saturday is because we're doing that one piggybacked with the Parks and Recreation's summer kickoff. My treasurer does have an email out to get our certificate of insurance.
Okay. I'll open up a public hearing. Anybody here have any questions or comments on this event? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, any questions, comments? Or a motion?
I'll move that we issue a temporary event permit for the Wolfeboro Senior Center and Meals, Inc., host music in the park on May 22nd, 2023 at 2 p.m., June 24th, 2023 at 4 p.m., July 24th, 2023 at 2 p.m., and August 23rd, 2023 at 2 p.m., free and open to the public. Rain plan is the Great Hall.
I'll second.
Motion by Dave, seconded by Linda. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? You're all set there, Amy.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the bulk vote, which has a couple of weekly manifests. One for May 5th, $569,767, and May 12th of $220,607. A couple of intent to cut permits, and that's it, isn't it? Do we have a motion on the bulk vote?
Move to approve the bulk vote A and B.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Luke to approve the bulk vote. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. There are no board or committee appointments. New business. Our discussion about our budget. Actual versus budget for April.
Good evening, Carpentier, the Finance Director. Before you this evening to discuss April 2023 actual versus budget report. A 4-month average for anything would be 33%. The general fund operating budget is currently at 36.1%, but some of that is for contractual things that we put out POs for, so we're kind of right on track there. The general fund revenue is only at 6%, but that's a little understated until the first tax bill that goes out in July. Hopefully the tax bills, I'm told by the tax collector, will be going out at the end of May with a due date early in July. But part of the general fund revenues is motor vehicle permits, and we're at 35%, so we're right on track, and that's about a $1.7 million budget overall. The water fund is at 23% expended. The electric fund is at 36%. The sewer fund is at 75%. A special note there is the operation and maintenance contract for the full year is written at the beginning of the year, so that's why that looks like it's overspent. And then Pop Wayland is at 59%, and as of last month, I reminded you there was a $39,000 compressor repair, emergency repair. But we are managing the bottom line of both of those budgets. Estimated revenues for water fund is at 21%, but the water charges are at 29%. The electric fund is at 36%. Sewer fund is at 18%, with residential sales at 27%, and Pop Wayland's at 18%. The water fund and sewer fund are trending a little lower than the 33% average. After discussing this with the town manager today, we do look at the usage, and it kind of bell curves over the summer months, so we expect that to pick up over the next 4 to 6 months. It's kind of lower now. Your residential customers come back, it goes higher up usage, so the bills will be higher in the next few months. The DRA approved the 23 budget items this week. It took them 2 months to get it done, but they finally gave us the blessing. The field audit was completed at the end of April. We should get the report at the end of July. They do need to coordinate with like New Hampshire Retirement System and other agencies. Our bond application was submitted on time. Had a bond council review, and we expect the funds early in August for half of the Public Works project and the sewer extension project. Monthly, we continue to attend joint loss meetings, IT meetings, and the trustee of the trust fund meetings. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them. I have some questions from Linda. Would you like me? Yep.
Yeah, why don't you just go through them, then me to ask them, and then you to answer.
Sure. So Linda sent me an email, Selectman Murray asked me 5 questions. Why are the revenues for water and sewer funds so low? This was the same trend I saw last year. I tried to touch base on that. It is because the usage for water and sewer go up in like June, July, August, September, October, and then come back down again. So we expect that to level off. The advertising line in the executive budget is at 183% spent to date. It was a clerical error. Two POs were done for the same legal services, so it is now back down to 100%. In the Public Works Department, highway and street budget overtime is at 78%, and the highway garage is at 65%. Is there a plan to control the overtime this summer? I know most of this was due to winter storms. At the end of February and beginning of March, we were slammed with back-to-back storms. I reached out to the Public Works Director for some of these comments. The Public Works Director is aware of the numbers. The only overtime that is planned for the summer is when we are doing the line striping and crosswalk painting this time of year. The Public Works Director is watching the bottom line, and some items have been front-loaded. He expects the growth to slow and the percentage to even out over the next couple months. He's looking at his overall budget, and it will balance out in the end, and changes will be made in future budgets. Number 4, Public Works Building and Grounds budget, hourly wages are over budget. What is causing this and why? There are 2 items there. We have a person who is split 50-50. 50% for building and grounds, and then 50% for solid waste. So for the first half of the year, he's going to be in building and grounds, and then the second half in solid waste. So you'll see that solid waste hasn't been charged for that person's time as of yet. However, also there is a clerical error in that budget, and it was incorrectly budgeted, and I will be suggesting to the town manager to do a line item transfer. And then the last one, payment to, the $80, economic development budget. Why is it over by $80? It was JC signs for banners for last night, so it will be reclassed to the Special Events Committee donation account.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do appreciate your questions. You obviously have discovered a few issues that we've taken corrective actions on it, so I do appreciate your questions. Does anybody else have any questions that they'd like to ask? All righty.
No, I don't see any. Thank you very much, Casey.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Casey.
Okay, let's see. Next on the agenda is the MOU between the Board of Selectmen and the Library Trustees. We have
How are you all tonight? Good to see you. What's up with your mic? All right, there we go. I think we got it stable. Yeah. So my name's Brody DeShays. I'm a resident of Wolfeboro. I'm treasurer of the Wolfeboro Public Library and serve on the Board of Trustees for the Wolfeboro Public Library. And a request came from your board and the town manager that we develop a memorandum of understanding and cooperative agreement between the town of Wolfeboro, operating through the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen and the Wolfeboro Public Library on how we're going to care for our library and who is responsible for what specific functions and what specific infrastructure of the library. It's just pretty simple. It's basically just laying out how the town, how the town currently operates with the public library and how the Board of Selectmen and the Wolfeboro Public Library Board of Trustees, what we kind of already do, just making sure that everything is explicit on paper, and if there's ever a disagreement, we have a document that we can point to and that we can squabble over. So if you have any questions about any specific sections of the MOU or any specific decisions that were made in regards to the MOU, I have not only the current draft, I also have 3 drafts previous that we got, and the original drafts that we base it upon that came from the town manager. So.
I have one comment. I just think this is a great idea to have an MOU. It's the first one that we had. I've seen it before. I thought they did an excellent job of dividing up what we do and what they do, and this is the kind of agreement we should have.
And I'm assuming, Jim, you've been through this and it meets your...
Yeah, I would like to be able to have the opportunity to sit down with the finance director and go over a couple questions that I want to have ironed out. But I think this is a great starting point for us to be able to get an agreement in place that lays out the path forward.
So it sounds like you'd like to review this a little bit, have some questions answered, then come back for an approval with a next meeting or
I think that sounds fine. I think if they have things they want to check out, they should check it out.
Yep. Okay, so we'll do that, if that sounds good to you folks.
I mean, yeah, we think the document's pretty good. I believe we talked to the finance director in developing it. Did we talk to the finance director?
You left.
You didn't? Okay, maybe we didn't. But we definitely talked with staff and Cindy Scott, who's a previous director of the library, regarding some of the specific aspects of finance and different liability insurance and employees and how the town provides HR services for the library and some of those other things, payroll, et cetera. So.
Sounds like if there is anything there, it's going to be very, very minor, so it'd be...
Yeah. But if there's any issues, Jim can probably reach out to the interim library
I'll probably try to
directors.
coordinate something between myself, Casey, you, and Joyce.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, the Seacoast Pretzel Company requesting permission for tables and chairs.
So the Seacoast Pretzel Company came to me last week wanting permission to be able to have chairs in front of their business for their customers. They went through and they did take a series of pictures and provided some documentation. I followed that up with having the code enforcement officer going down to take some additional measurements just to confirm what the Pretzel Company had provided us, and he essentially did that. If we were to grant this, one item that I want to be clear about is we will still meet the ADA requirements for width of the sidewalk. And number two would be they have to figure some way to secure the tables and chairs during business hours so that they aren't moved by patrons, but as well be able to take them down when they're not in operation. The Director of Public Works did have a stipulation that he did not want any type of permanent fixing to the concrete of the sidewalk. Other than that, I believe somebody here from the pretzel company can address any questions you may have.
Sure. Yeah, if you just come up and state your name at the beginning, that'd be good.
I don't know how to move this thing. I'm the owner here, Matt Brown. So, as the gentleman was talking about, I don't know how to move this thing. So, I did do some measurements, as you guys said. You guys can see in the pictures. There's a picture of an A-frame sign. I don't know if you guys got it, but there's a picture of an A-frame sign with my girlfriend Sienna standing next to it. That A-frame sign did not stay there. That's just showing how much space. There's 5 feet from my chair leg to the end of the sidewalk. And there's also a Jeep that's always parked there. And I took a picture of their front bumper, which overhangs onto the sidewalk, and that still shows 5 feet from my table over. The table and chairs are only 2 feet big, and they fold up, and I bring them in every single night. So they would not stay out all the time. It's just that when I'm open is when I would like to have them out. I don't have a lot, and I notice other businesses have tables and chairs, and it brings in people to sit down and have the ability. And I also have a trash can out there for them to be able to throw their trash away too.
Okay. Board members, any questions or comments? Dave?
Yeah, from what I can see in this picture right here.
What's that?
This picture right here shows 2 tables and 4 chairs. Is that what you're asking for? Okay.
Yeah, the 2 tables, 4 chairs, and they're all yellow. You can't see in the picture, but they're all yellow, yeah.
Okay.
Question, are they in front of your rented space or a neighbor's rented
They're
space?
in front of the real estate place, which I spoke to the owner of, and he did give me permission, and I do have contact information with him. And he already gave me permission that I could have it in front of his real estate building. It's like, I don't know what's it? Yeah, I'm just saying, it's like, yeah, it's not directly in front of our building.
Okay.
Linda?
Yeah, I'm going to come at it at another angle. First of all, you see tables and chairs on the sidewalk. The ones down at Seven Sons are down because they own the sidewalk there, and there was an agreement with the town on where they were going to be placed. Local Utopia, those chairs are off. They didn't have permission to put tables and chairs on the sidewalk. You know, I think we're back to the sidewalk is for pedestrians. And when I was at an EDC meeting, I asked the members of the EDC what they felt. And that was their feeling was the sidewalks are for pedestrians. They did not like tables and chairs. They were okay with benches that were against the building that are for the general use of the public, and that can be used by the community. So my feeling is that we should not get into the business of using our sidewalks for tables and chairs.
Could I say something? I don't know if I'm allowed
Sure.
to.
Yeah.
So I have like the concrete step right in front of my door. That sticks out further than my table and chair as well, and that's concrete. That's permanently there. That sticks out more than 2 feet, which is my table is only 2 feet.
Their comment was it's a slippery slope. You do this one, then that one's going to want it and the other. So that was the feeling of best way I could get a response from some of the members of the community. I also will show you down by Seven Sons, and I'll hand this out, and I don't know whether Sandbags will do it or not. We have an agreement, but where I have that yellow line, a wheelchair or somebody handicapped are not going to be able to get by there, and the chairs get pulled out. So this is what I'm concerned about. So I will not support this.
So I have a question. What happens if 4 people get ice cream cones and sit at your tables and chairs?
Well, so actually that's a good question because, so just like any other businesses, the tables and chairs for anyone to sit at. So just like our trash can, we always get trash from other businesses and it's open. I mean, we have customers that sit at the place next door that have table and chairs. Just like if someone has ice cream, they sit at our table. It's something we go out to every hour and we clean the tables and chairs and we have the trash there. We're not going to say only our customers. I mean, I feel like there's not enough table and chairs and trash cans in Wolfeboro for people to walk around and sit at.
Yeah. The other ones are Harmony Coffee is on their property.
Correct.
Butternuts is on their property also. They were lucky enough to have space to put these chairs. And I'm nervous like Linda. I don't know if it then ends up that every single business is going to want to put tables and chairs out, and not all might be good neighbors like you. They may overtake the sidewalk, and
I think with us not having tables and chairs, Harmony's will have our customers there because our customers want a place to sit down.
Yep.
So without having it, so I brought my tables and chairs in and I haven't had them out there, and our customers are going to other places, and then they may have a problem because they're going to be like, why is, the pretzel guy sitting at my table? So I think if we were all able to have tables and chairs, then we can all have customers, enough room for everyone to sit down.
Luke?
I think we have to, my opinion is that I think we got to look at all these cases individually. I personally don't have an issue with this one. I think that with if we did approve something like this, we could approve it for a year. And if it's not maintained well, or if, it becomes an issue, we could certainly revisit it. I would like to see us, embrace new businesses here in town, and I don't think in this case 2 tables and 4 chairs is detrimental. Basically there's no seating inside. There's limited seating. I've never been in there yet, but I want to. So I do agree it's a slippery slope, but if it's well thought out and well policed in a way, then I'd be for it.
Are you for if we have them in front of Locotopia, or?
I think we have to look at each one individually. A location like Locotopia, who was going to have indoor and outdoor seating, has the seating already, and they're expanding out to a sidewalk. This location is more of a window type operation, much like the Bubble, and they don't have seating. So I just, and it's on a side street. I understand that is narrow, especially when the car's parked. But, I'd like to give it a shot if it was up to me. But I'm only one.
Would you be open to using more of a bench-style seating there and something that can be put out and remain there for the entire season? Do you have something, could people still manage to do that, have a couple of benches and one table in between, or one little table? I actually showed Linda and I think Jim, there's actually a little system that they make that is for outdoor seating, and it has 2 square kind of chairs and a table in between, and then the 2 chairs fold underneath and it turns into a bench. Correct. With a bench,
I'd be okay with that, but I wouldn't. That's not something I would want to bring in every night. So I don't plan on being there every single day. My girlfriend's going to be working too, and I'm not comfortable with her lugging in something that large every single night. And we don't have the room. We went with such a small table and chairs that we can just, fold it up. It's a folding table and chairs. So we went with something small that we can move in. If it's something like that, this sounds much bigger. It sounds like a 2-person job moving it.
So let me the benches that we have in front of Blacks and in front of is it
Realty?
Yeah, the Realty.
Barani's.
Are those fastened to the sidewalk?
No.
Have we ever had them damaged, stolen?
The ones that are fastened to the sidewalks are the two down by Seven Sons that the town puts out and fastens to the sidewalk. I do not believe the ones at the railroad station are fastened to the deck.
And
But I
we've
think
never
the one-
had we've never had vandalism or a stolen bench that I can remember.
So I'm going to weigh in a little bit too here. I'm kind of the same opinion as Luke here. I think I really like the looks of the character of town when you have some of this outdoor seating on the sidewalk stuff. I was down in Concord a week or so ago, and it just looks very appealing and friendly to the people there to be able to, go down through there and see other people enjoying things outdoors and stuff. Now, I realize we don't have the sidewalks like they do in Concord. Those are, those are huge sidewalks down there. In my opinion, what you're proposing here does fit in there, doesn't take away from the ADA compliance there, so I have no problem with that. And I do agree with Luke. I think if we do this, we should do this on a one-year trial thing to see how it works out, then revisit it for next summer. And you might find out that a bench might be more appropriate or something like that. It would just stay there. You wouldn't have to take in and out and stuff like that. Right. Who knows? But
the bench might also work to make it seem like everybody feels like they can sit there. Where a table and chairs, people are like, well, if I'm not eating something, maybe I shouldn't. So if someone's 80 years old and they need a break, they're not going to sit at the table.
We can't assume what people are going to be thinking there, if they're going to sit there or not. And we've got to look at what we got here for dimensions, sitting on the sidewalk, and whether it impedes the traffic, the foot traffic that's there. So I'm kind of that, I would support this for a year trial moving forward, and then kind of, readdress it again, next spring about this time, and see how it worked out for you and stuff, and then, kind of go from there. So that's my opinion. Anybody else have any questions, comments?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve Seacoast Pretzel Company to have 2 tables and 4 chairs on the sidewalk as depicted in this picture for 1 year.
For 1 year?
That's following up on what
I would,
Luke said about limiting it.
Can I make an amendment to the motion?
No, we've got to have a second
I'll
first.
second it.
Okay, any discussion on that?
Yeah, I'd like an amendment to the motion.
Okay, hang on a second. Any discussion on that so far as what we have? Okay, Brian.
The amendment to the motion would be that if we see that there is an issue that it is not working out, that we have the right to pull the chairs in before the end of the 1-year period. If for some reason something happens and we get complaints, if something happens, I want the ability to pull this back.
Well, I think that could come back to us at that point. But I think what we're approving, or what my motion is, to basically let them have it for 1 year, 2 tables, 4 chairs, as depicted in this picture, for 1 year.
Okay, first of all, we got an amendment on the floor. Do we have a second to the amendment? Seeing none, the amendment will fail then, so we're back to the original motion to approve this for a 1-year trial period. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
No. And I want to state that.
Passes, wait a minute, passes 3-2, so.
Yep. And I just want to state that my no is because I think that the town should have the ability to stop the program if for some reason it wasn't working. I'm not against tables and chairs per se, but I definitely, something that's new and unusual like this, if someone trips and falls over it, if we get a complaint from a wheelchair, I would like to be able to pull it back.
Okay.
And we don't have the ability to now.
Brett, just one more, so just for you guys, this happens sometimes at Seven Sons, so I just want to, sometimes you get 4 people, and they'll take those 2 other chairs, they'll move them around to the other side, and now they are creating in it. Yeah,
Benches, yeah.
yeah. Just make sure that you're not having 4 people sitting at one table and blocking this, because they will do that, Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, commercial vessel landing permit,
Somebody step
Wolfeboro
down.
Dock Company.
Luke Freudenberg, citizen, Wolfeboro Dock Company. Looking for a second year of a vehicle vessel permit for our company to land at Libby Museum. And before, I just noticed too, I'm looking at the insurance form, and we need an updated insurance policy, because this was issued on 5/1, and all these policies are out of date, so I
You're
just need an
right.
email.
Any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to issue a commercial vehicle landing permit for Wolfeboro Dock Company once they provide us with an updated insurance.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, with Luke recusing himself on this one.
Brad, I am going to accuse myself on the next one since my
Yep.
son filled out the permit.
Yep. So our next one on the agenda is a commercial vessel landing permit for Beckwith Builders. Do we have anybody here to present that or talk to us? Don't see anybody. But I believe this is their second annual one, too. They were in last
Yep.
year also.
Yep.
See, their fee has been paid. Their certificate of insurance is valid through this year. So if we don't have any questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
I move we issue a commercial vessel landing permit to Beckwith Builders, Inc.
Second.
Motion by Dave, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, with Linda recusing on this one. Okay, next on the agenda, to authorize the town manager to sign 2 grants for the Wolfeboro Police Department. A grant for the Drug Task Force and a grant for purchase of a drone for the police and fire.
Yeah, so Captain Mark Libby, Wolfeboro PD. So our first one is for the DOJ, $65,000. This is our 6th year going into it, so it's very same thing. Nothing's changed with it. The second one is for $34,608.63. So this has multiple things within the grant. First, we can purchase a drone with a thermal imager. This will help our operation as long as the fire operations for certain things that they do. It's $15,000 worth of overtime, which will help us with our budget. As you'll see, our overtime is overspent for right now, so this will help us coming into the summer months. It also covers the retirement lines, Social Security lines, and it's training for the drone because you need operators for it. So we're going to use some dispatchers, fire, and police for operators, for operations. And the last thing is some protective gear, more likely gloves for our staff, especially when we're out there for our calls and incidents.
Okay. Any questions? Linda?
Yeah, and I just want to get clarity. The overtime money, it has nothing to do with the drones. It's just
Yeah.
you're getting more overtime money for
Yes.
your budget.
Separate.
Okay, that's, I'm going to just clarify
Yeah.
that.
Any
Here's
other
a- here's a-
questions?
Yeah, one more question. Do you anticipate anybody complaining about your drone flying around?
It will be during our operations, and we do have to make notifications to certain areas, like our Huggins Hospital, especially when DART comes in. But they'll all be certified to operate it, so I wouldn't think so.
'Cause I know
Many
some-
police departments do have it, and
Yeah.
fire departments.
They do, and sometimes people get nervous when they just see a drone flying
Yeah.
around.
I
and
mean,
they
it
don't-
isn't going to be just driving around, going up there for the heck of it. Maybe for training purposes, but it will be in a controlled area.
Okay, any other questions? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move to authorize the town manager to sign the applications for the
for the 2 grants.
2 grants.
I'll second.
Motion by Dave, seconded by Linda. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Next on our agenda is the Independence Day Parade parking ban. We have here a notice that we did this, last year was the first year or the second year we did that?
I think it's the first year we did the full. I think the year before we did partial.
Yep. I'll read what it says here into the record here, so the folks at home can hear too. The Town of Wolfeboro, 4th of July parking ban. There shall be no parking along Main Street from Clark Road to Old Lakeview Terrace on July 4th, 2023, with a rain date July 5th, 2023, from 7 to noon on the rain date, and on the 4th between the hours of 7 a.m. to noon on the 4th also, for the purpose of the Independence Day Parade. Vehicles will be towed at the owner's expense, and a fine of $50 will be imposed per order of the Selectmen. I thought it worked very well last year. It was nice to see everybody be able to have elbow room in the downtown area, so.
I have a question, Brad.
Sure.
Yeah, I have no problem with the parking ban, but I just want to get confirmation. I think it was at 9:30, up until 9:30, you allowed cars to go down off the main street for people who couldn't walk very.
I think it's actually 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. So we work with the businesses. I know they're down there. The people want to get coffee, quick breakfasts,
Yep.
stuff like that. So they can park real quick and get that stuff. But around 9 o'clock, we start shutting down the side roads and the main road.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get by.
Yeah, the main thing I'm concerned about are the people who cannot walk that far.
Correct.
We let in on the off street. So if
Yeah.
we're going to do that, I'm fine.
Are we going to have the same reserved parking spots this year in front of and behind the town hall for,
I think we should.
yeah?
Do we
Yeah, I
do-
would assume that we would just do the same parking plan that we did last year. It seemed
Everything's
to work
worked well. So
So we'll do this flyer plus our parking plan that we used last year.
Yep, sounds
And
good.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay, somebody like to make a motion on this?
I move that we implement the parking ban on the 4th of July for the parade and follow the same parking for people who need special parking as we did last year. Does that do it?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Dave. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Other business. Do we have any other business this evening to take care of?
I have one. We are still having trouble with the dumpster down on the dockside parking lot, and I just want the public to know that we're trying to address it, because I've gotten a number of complaints and emails.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Seeing none, we'll move on to committee reports. We'll start down on this end here with Dave. Now, this tonight.
The Conservation Commission committee meeting, and also there was some of us who met up at Port Wayland on Monday afternoon, wasn't it
Yep.
Monday?
Yep.
Yeah. With the engineers and state and people from the development. That's all I have.
Okay. Last night, we had a planning board meeting where we're presented with a preliminary conceptual plan of the new proposed building for Hunter's IGA. It looked very interesting. They're starting to move forward now that the site's all cleaned up. They're getting the engineering done, so excited to see that move forward. Had a community TV meeting this morning. I attended the Port Wayland meeting with Dave, and also met up today with Jim and Steve Randall up at the Libby Museum. Started to look at some of the issues we have up there and some fixes that we can do, in the short term, and then, while we wait for Bergeron Technical Services to get back to us later this summer. And that was it for me. Linda?
Yeah, I had 2 library trustees meetings. I did the interviews for Park and Rec operation manager. I also met with the residents of Jockey Cove with Jim. I had a Friends of Pop Whalen meeting I had a friend, the EDC as an alternate, and I'm sure Brian can fill you in on that. And Brian and I spent a good part of the morning walking the Abenaki trails and the Sprayfield trails and taking pictures. And we're going to put them together and meet with Jim, and I'm sure there'll be a report that will come out to the selectmen on what we found and what we may need to do.
Luke?
I had a monthly chamber meeting, as well as a Friends of the Libby meeting.
Brian?
So I was also at the Port Wetland meeting and finding out more and more information, which was good. We had a great EDC meeting. The EDC is really starting to focus on helping businesses grow in town. More discussions about Harriman Hill and that Phase 3 that may be going forward. We talked also about getting the Lake Winnipesaukee event together, and it looks like that's going to be a fun event. Linda and I walked Abenaki, and it was 3 hours. And we walked bike trails, cross-country ski trails, snowshoe trails, the whole gamut, and drove through a lot of the access roads for the wastewater treatment plant. And it's a maze and amazing, and we're going to have to do a lot to figure this out. I saw that it looks like they're starting the ramp down at the ADA ramp. At least it's roped off for where they're going to put the ADA ramp, and love to see when I came back from vacation that Hunter's was flat and level.
Brian, we were to inform the board that the EDC was going to send a letter to the ZBA to say that they support Phase 3 of Harriman Hill.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to let the board know prior to us doing that, and if anybody has a problem with us doing it, now's the time to say your piece. If not, we will support that.
Okay, thank you.
So
Town managers,
I might have it. I was having an issue with email. If I can find it, I'll read that letter.
Okay. Town managers report.
Few items. I had a meeting today with an engineer regarding a water build-out study. They're getting me a scope of work, so that's moving forward. I met with Conservation Commission at Pop Whalen. If you recall, we removed a significant number of trees along the wetland area, and one of the promises we made with them was to put some plantings back in. So they're working on a planting plan that they're going to submit to us through the Conservation Commission, and we'll try to get that executed here in short order. Met with Brad this morning, as he alluded to, at the Libby Museum. Bergeron Technical Services won't be able to come in and do an evaluation of that facility until late summer, early fall, but we're going to do some stopgap measures to try and improve the facility a little bit, including testing of the mold evaluation. Earlier this week, we had a meeting with bond counsel about our bonds going forward. We look like we're in good shape there. I would anticipate next meeting you'll have an authorization to certify the vote in front of you for consideration. Public safety building, a few things happening there. Core borings have been done on site. We plan on going to the planning board on June 20th with site plan review, which will include some stormwater management issues and a lighting plan. So that's in process. I also met with the library trustees regarding the potential of being able to use some of their property for the mobilization of that project, and potentially being able to tie some of their generator work into this project. If you recall, they have a generator on order for that facility. We have a problem with both locations with trying to identify where to plant propane tanks. So we're trying to work together to find a location where we can provide propane to both facilities in one bank of propane instead of having multiple banks of propane located throughout two pieces of property. As stated, we met with Port Wedland. They were actually encouraged by the meeting down there. Although they understand it's a significant increase in the cost, they were actually thrilled because, frankly, the way that one of the residents down there stated it, to quote him directly, "I'm glad we found this because all we would have been doing is putting lipstick on a pig." That's exactly what he said. So they understand it's more money, but they were actually thrilled with the fact that we're going about it correctly. One last item. I'm hopeful for tomorrow to have the final documents from the engineer for the sewer extensions on Varney and Forest Road. That has been an absolute pain, but I'm hopeful to have that tomorrow. The bid opening was supposed to be tomorrow. If we're lucky, we'll get the documents out so contractors can bid on it now, which means the project isn't going to be done until fall. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Hey, Brad, I found my letter, and it's from the EDC. It says, "To the Board of Selectmen for the Town of Wolfeboro. The Town of Wolfeboro's Economic Development Committee would like to go on record as approving and supporting the needs for the third stage of development of Harriman Hill and affordable housing. Thank you, Lucy Van Cleve, Chair, EDC Wolfeboro. We're here to help with the economic development of our community. You are welcome to contact us with questions about starting a business, zoning, or planning questions, chamber events, community events, voting, or taxes. Whatever it may be, you can start here. EDC at wolfeboronh.us."
All right, thank you. Questions from the press? We have Alyssa with us.
She is on.
Hi. I have none. Thank you. Did you hear me?
Yes.
She's all set,
Okay.
she said.
Okay. Next on the agenda, public input. Do we have somebody here for public input?
No, go first before me.
Thank you for the copy of the draft wastewater information. But it's a draft, and I'm wondering, do you have any thoughts about having some sort of a overview presentation or something that the public would hear in relation to this report?
So I actually did meet with the engineer who put that report together this week, and we talked about some discrepancies in the report compared to what we know in the community. So they are taking that information and trying to hunt down some more facts. At some point after that, I would assume that we would have them come forward and deliver the presentation to their document.
Yeah, and since it says draft, what's the next step?
They're going back and making the revisions based on some of the input that I've received from board members and some questions that I've also received from staff.
Okay, so if we have questions, we can get them to you? Okay.
I can't promise I can answer them for you, Suzanne, but yeah, you get them to me, I'll see what I can do.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Good evening. My name is Josephine Amachucci. I filed a complaint of police misconduct against the former police chief, Dean Rondeau. And I insisted that a formal investigation be made under due process. Commissioner Wood responded by fraudulently stating that the MRI was doing an investigation. However, when I contacted MRI to verify that they were doing an investigation on Rondeau, they stated that there was no contract to investigate Rondeau by any member or any official of the town of Wolfeboro. MRI did state that they did have a contract for a personnel matter regarding Rondeau, but not by the town of Wolfeboro officials. I went back to Mr. Wood and I told him about my conversation with MRI, and to cover up his lies, he stated that his contact with MRI was just in a conversation form, and he did not make any contract with them to investigate Rondeau. And as of today, there is no investigation being made on Dean Rondeau. Now, we know that Rondeau was initially suspended with pay by the police commissioners, pending an investigation of my complaint. However, a few days afterwards, Rondeau decided to retire from the police department instead of waiting for any investigation to be completed. Now, when Commissioner Wood announced that the former police chief, Stuart Chase, would fill the vacancy and replace Rondeau as police chief of the police department for 1 year only, I became very confused. I was thinking, why hadn't the next online police officer chosen in place of Rondeau, of whom I believe would be Officer Livy? Then I did more investigations, and I found out what might be going on with Mr. Wood in this town. I discovered that Mr. Wood is bringing in the former police chief, Stuart Chase, for 1 year only, because if an investigation is not completed within a year, Rondeau has a right to get his job back. And if you can believe that Mr. Wood is not going to have completed an investigation within a year, that's why he's given Chase only 1 year to replace the police chief. So it's a conspiracy to get Rondeau back in this town. A criminal. Now, do we want criminals back in our town? Which is consistent with what's going on in this town. First there was Brian Black, and then Chase, and now Rondeau. And they all had criminal backgrounds. Now, to make matters work, Stuart Chase, who Police Commissioner Mr. Wood is allowing to come back to the town for 1 year, is a criminal just like Rondeau. When he was police chief in Danvers, Massachusetts, Chase committed an assault on a woman when she accused one of Chase's men of misconduct. As a result, because he assaulted her, as a result, he was forced to retire, or of course be terminated. And he was only police chief for 1 year in Danvers. He came to Wolfeboro and became our police chief. And he also committed an assault on me when I was accusing Rondeau of misconduct. Chase stated to me, "If you accuse my men of misconduct, I will get you and arrest you on the spot." And I told him I was going to the sheriff to report what he did to me. He followed me on my way to the sheriff's office. He stopped my car and accused me of speeding, and he put me in jail. He went inside my car and he stole the evidence I have, which proved that Rondeau accused me of erratic driving in Wolfeboro when I was not in Wolfeboro on that day. Chase had my car towed. When in New Hampshire, your car is not towed for a traffic violation. You are not taken to jail, and you are not taken to jail. What happens is you're taken to the police station, fingerprinted, and released on bail, or given a summons to attend the trial. He then, Chase, the man who's coming back here, the criminal, prosecuted me for speeding. Speeding is not a crime in New Hampshire. You don't get prosecuted. I was found not guilty by the trial court judge, who found evidence in the police records that my pursuit by Chase was a setup to stop me from reaching the sheriff's office. All in all, I was unlawfully seized under the Fourth Amendment violation of my constitutional rights by the man who's coming here to be our police chief. Chase must not be allowed to come back to this town of Wolfeboro's police department. He is a criminal, and he's a threat to the safety of the public.
Any other public input? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Thank you, everybody.